Welcome to Retire Earlier and Better, at home or abroad, whatever suits you best. We're Frank and Angie, and today we're going to do the Expat News Flash, which is tidbits of news flashes from around the world that we deem worthy enough to share with you.
Okay, there's 4 countries that are severely hurting from over-tourism. Severely hurting. And I said severely because I already know that these countries are, because I read about it all the time, and people probably already know 3 of them, but the last one I was surprised with.
Should I ask though, what is severely hurting?
Well, they have to close down that part of the country because it's getting destroyed. And so that's what's happened.
So
or
like
they
the environment?
Yes, the environment, from like plastic wastes, too much of the ecosystem in the water getting destroyed from the, you know, like the fish ecosystem and the, what do you call the reefs? They're getting destroyed from too many of the tourists going down there, and it just stepping on the reef.
So if people are going to like scuba destinations, they're destroying the reefs, and
Yes.
if they're going to other areas, they're polluting it too much with garbage. And okay, it's just too many people in one spot.
Exactly.
In too short a time. Yeah, I get it.
Exactly. But the ones that are mostly talked about the most get like 40 million visitors a year, and that's like.
Well, you know, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead and say it, and I'll say the countries.
Well, no, it just occurs to me when we're sitting here talking about this that, you know, it's just the whole idea that tourism is something people don't think too much about unless they're conscious. There is a lot of consciousness now about the environment and taking care of what we have, you know, what we have, and taking care of the earth. So a lot of this tourism is just counter to the idea of taking care of the earth. It sounds like, I mean, because these are like the top highest number countries, I think, that are getting the most tourism, and yet and they're the ones that are having you know, showing the major signs of a backlash from it. So interesting, because you know, we've been advocating not touristing, but more of a traveling and more of like a resident. But anyhow, that's a different discussion. Let's start on it. What?
Well, the 4 countries that are having the most impact from over-tourism, is what they call it, is Bali with the plastic waste, Thailand, the beach called Maya Beach, the coral...
Okay, so wait a minute. The other week we did I know, but when you start saying these things, it just, the thoughts come to mind that just the last news flash we did, we were talking about a city in Indonesia, which is Bali, where Bali is, that has instituted new regulations where people can use refuse as public transportation fare.
Exactly.
So
there we go.
Now we understand.
Yeah.
You know, because the situation is so bad that they're finally getting around to doing something about it in a constructive way.
Exactly. Yes.
So okay, cool.
Yes.
So then that's not a surprise. Yeah, Bali. What else?
And then there was, in Thailand, there's a beach called Maya Beach. The coral reefs and the aquatic life are dying because the coral reefs get stepped on and damaged, then it gets rid of the fish that go in there or whatever.
Okay, too much of a stampede on the coral reefs.
And then in Venice, Italy, I guess, there's a lot of pollution and garbage, plastic waste again. In Venice, but also high tides from the motorboats that are out in the lagoons and stuff. It brings in these tides that causes flooding, I guess, is what they're saying. That's what it said, high tides from motorboats.
There's a little bit of everything on that one.
And I think they had to even, or they're going to start limiting the cruise ships, because there's so many cruise ships come in, and
too much of a good thing. Yeah. We talked about Venice before.
Yeah, we have on other videos.
Okay.
And then the last one is the one that surprised me. It's Faja or Agyok for Iceland. No, I'm saying it the best I can. Faja Agyok for Iceland.
Okay, it's Iceland.
They have banned visitors from going there at all now.
Oh, they went all the way to banning.
Well, what happened was Justin Bieber did a video about the place. And because that was his music video, and then he said that's where he was, and everybody started going there.
All it takes is the notoriety of the traffic of TV or Hollywood or whatever it is, MTV or
Yeah.
YouTube, whatever it is.
And they just had to totally ban it. So visitors are banned from that area.
Okay. It would be surprising to me that Iceland would have made that list, but now that you mention about the Justin Bieber crowd followers, that makes more sense that it would make the list. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Huh. Wow. Okay. So tropical East Asia and of course Italy gets a lot of
They
visitors.
said Rome also is getting trashed.
Rome is getting
ruined from too much
there are other
over-tourism.
backlashes from the tourism that I notice. For example, every time we go through Rome, the people, the workers, you know, the bus drivers, the people, they're so exhausted from so many people that they're very impatient. So I don't want to sound condemning of them, because I understand they're very overworked and exhausted, but you know, you're going to get the brunt of that exhaustion, and it comes across as, wow, rudeness, you know. So yeah, that's too much of a good thing, and it you know, people are overworked, and it's just too much. They just want to get their break, have the little break. They don't want another 1 millionth tourist coming around asking them, you know, where's the bus? Well, it's right down there.
Exactly.
You just got off the plane and you don't know, but just walk over there, it's right there. All right.
This is the next news flash.
Mm-hmm.
In the Philippines, 45 miles south of Manila, a volcano, it was called Taal, erupted, and tens of thousands of people have to evacuate, and they have canceled flights to Manila because of this. Ash is everywhere. I mean, they probably can't bring planes in because the ash is so heavy. It's
wow. Okay, so a big volcano eruption in just south of Manila, Philippines. That's,
yeah, the article went on to say that there was expats there that were concerned. They were leaving, going to different parts of the Philippines and stuff, so they could get out. That's
something we would want to keep up on, keep tabs on by the minute. See how people are faring over there.
Well, there's 24 other volcanoes in that area. It's located along the Ring of Fire.
I'll tell you, there's lots of places with lots of volcanoes that I can think of right now, places we've been to, like in Ecuador. Ecuador's got tons of volcanoes, and people, they move to these places and they don't give it any thought. Italy's got tons of volcanoes. What was the other one? Galapagos also has, the whole Galapagos is all volcanoes.
Yes.
Yeah, you know, southern Italy, Sicily, it's got all kinds of volcanoes all over the place. Yeah, it's just something people don't think about, and then when something happens, it's because when the world opens up like this to movement and travel and tourism, and lots of people are doing this, and there's going to be somewhere in the world where there's more likelihood of, you know, out of I don't know how many hundreds or thousands of volcanoes, that one of them's going to erupt at some point. So yeah, somebody's going to get caught in that somewhere. So
this one, the next news flash, is about the Dominican Republic. This is about a young travel vlogger. She has 27,000 followers on her Instagram, and she initially told all her followers that the DR was safe. Yes.
One of those,
but something happened to her conscience or something, and she finally came out with it, and she told her followers later that she felt bad for not being honest, but that she was actually assaulted and almost kidnapped.
Okay, so something did happen. They were a victim. She was a victim, but she didn't mention it on her blog.
Yes.
And she did the same thing that 99.9999 travel bloggers, travel writers, vloggers, whoever, whatever, pumpers do. And it's to say, hey, look at me and look at how wonderful everything is, when the reality was that she had actually suffered. I wonder how many other people you know, that happens to, and they don't say anything. Lots of people that it happens to, and they're not vloggers. For a vlogger to not mention anything, and then she felt bad later for probably, I wonder if she only felt bad because the news had been breaking out lately.
That's what she said, that the news started coming out with
the news started
some things
breaking
happening
out lately. So really she was kind of prodded by events to say, well, wait a minute, you know, people are hearing that there is crime. Maybe I should be honest about this. But you know, people should just, you know.
This was in Punta Cana.
Punta Cana, yeah, that's the Ram,
place where they go.
the Ram location, pumping.
She said that she not only was assaulted, and her husband was with her, but not at the time of the assault, but she was groped several times while riding her bicycle around. So people, like, she would just like be stopping on her bike or something, and people would come around, men, and
yeah, well, there's been incidents like that, and like other places, like Thailand has had some bad things happen. I think that people just tend to overdo it when they are on this touristing thing, but the focus here is on the part of that they're an established vlogger
with that many followers, she's
with
telling.
lots of followers, and just sweeping things under the rug and not really it's not just that you didn't, okay, so maybe you don't want to talk about something negative that happened to you, fine, but to go around and saying
that it's safe,
hey, this place is wonderful, it's like saying you know, I went to this restaurant and the food was great, but it really wasn't, you know. So I mean, it's a disservice to everyone that's hearing it. So, well, okay, there's not a whole lot of people that come clean. Thumbs up to them for coming clean on it. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of them that are still aren't coming clean. All right.
Do you want to do your news flashes here, or do you want to go back to the apartment and warm up a little bit?
This one's not about a vlogger, but it is about Mexico, which is really interesting, and I'll tell you that coming up. All right, so this news piece from Mexico, they riddled La Catrina, the most feared hitman or woman in Mexico, with bullets. Riddled her with bullets. So Mexico might be a little safer now that this, I don't know, this head hitman clan, she was the head of a 6-man hitman clan. This is kind of a word to twist.
Hit woman.
Hit woman. She was known in Mexico as La Catrina. Her name was Maria Guadalupe Lopez Esquivel, and was shot dead. And the woman belonged to a group of hitmen who killed a bunch of police in a crime that shocked the country last October. So Mexican security forces announced the arrest of 6 armed men and the death of the woman after they opened fire on soldiers and police in the same area where the October ambush took place. So she was wounded. She was known with, she had a Katrina tattoo on her thigh. The woman had been shot in the neck and apparently bled to death. The Katrina is known as a female figure of a skeleton with a wide-brimmed hat, which I've seen this, which it's like the figure, you know, that became one of the most representative images of the Day of the Dead holiday in Mexico.
Oh.
Yeah, so that was in the Salta, Argentina newspaper. So why they're talking about that, I don't know. Maybe they're doing Day of the Dead soon. And speaking of Argentina, look, news is news, and you know, 2 Argentines made poop in Machu Picchu and broke Machu Picchu. That's the translation of it. But basically, if it isn't enough to go to a developing country and get the runs, right, and have to go like you do, the thing about it is 6 tourists from Argentina, Brazil, Chile, and France, so they weren't all Argentinians, were arrested for entering prohibited area of the Inca Machu Picchu area, and they're allegedly damaged the famous Temple of the Sun, where they, of course, well, let things loose. They're being investigated by the public ministry for the alleged crime against cultural heritage, and this is the big deal because apparently for going to a developing country and getting the runs, you're going to get, if you don't watch where that happens, the Peruvian law sanctions those who damage cultural heritage. So the location where things are let loose is very important, and they take it very seriously if it's in a cultural heritage area. They entered the citadel illegally. Well, you know, when you gotta go, you gotta go. When you're not looking at signs, no trespassing, last Saturday night. At the time of the arrest, during the early hours of the morning, they were in the area of the Temple of the Sun viewpoint, and they apparently caused the fall of a stone from one of the walls. Also in the area, police found certain kinds of evidence, so they presumed that some of the they presume that some of the detainees made their needs in that area based on the evidence that was found. So in case some of them were denying it, nope, there it is. So anyway, that's...
So didn't they, I thought you said something, they got deported. Did they get deported?
They're being sanctioned. They could get 4 years in prison. All right, thanks for staying with us on these news flashes. If there's anything, any particular subject that you like us to cover, mention it in the comments and give it a thumbs up and subscribe. Don't forget the notification bell so you can know when we put up more videos. And have a wonderful day from Frank and Angie here in Eastern Europe. Bye-bye.
Ciao.